Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm your host, Brickman, and today I'm joined by Hans,
Hello.
Enigma,
It's the third time I have to introduce myself. Hi.
and today we have a special guest, Sinnabon.
Hi.
And today we'll be discussing what an ARG is, how they work, and what else are we discussing?
Don't ask me. I have no idea.
The
Hi.
types. Oh, okay, here we are. The
It's just
types.
everything ARGs.
Yeah, basically everything. And next episode, we'll most likely start to investigate, talk about ARGs that we're working on, ARGs that are finished, or ones that we did finish, even some that we haven't, but have previously been done. And hopefully, eventually, we'll be able to get a few ARG creators in here.
All right.
Um, Also, I just want to mention, I don't know if this really matters or not, but I myself, like, I'm fairly new to this community. Uh, like, I started.
Actually,
Oh,
yeah, let's backtrack. I'll move this part before we introduce ARGs and stuff.
okay,
Brick, do you want to introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about yourself first?
okay, yeah. Um, so obviously, as I've said before, my name is Brickman. You guys can call me Brady or Brickman. I don't care. Recently, I don't even remember. I think it was actually a week ago today, because we're recording this on Friday. Uh, like it was like the late afternoon, and I was scrolling through YouTube and I saw a video by Nexpo.
Expo.
I want to say it was Nexpo about about Ash vlogs,
Yes.
and like during the whole thing I was like, wow, this is weird. And then he was like, well, that's the thing with ARGs, and I'm just like, wait, what's an ARG? And then at the end of that episode, they had released a new part to the ARG, and he like showed what it was, and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty interesting. So I think I'll try it. So I went to Reddit, typed in r/ARG. I started on, I think it was inmate 404. I want to say it
Okay.
was, and ever since then, I've just been working on ARGs for the last like week. Um, but I'm very new to this, so a lot of these that they're talking about later in the
All right.
episode are like I'm most likely not going to know about any of these. There's maybe one or
Okay.
two because I mean they were just big or something, and I just happened to watch videos on them.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. Okay. I will introduce myself then. So my name is Hans, and online a lot of people would know me as Hans Anonymous. Uh, I am a content creator, and I essentially like to do everything. That is how I tell people who I am. Uh, but ARGs, I have created or worked on and created two ARGs so far. One of them is still in progress, and I don't really want to talk about it. The other one is the Ascension ARG. It occurred a little bit before the summer of this year, 2019, and ended about 2 weeks ago, I want to say. And there's even still some mystery around the ending of it. So I do know quite a bit about ARGs. Obviously, I do follow up on what's happening with current ARGs with Nexpo or uh, other YouTube channels that I'm blanking out on. This podcast was actually come up with. The idea of this podcast was come up with by Enigma, and he simply posted the idea onto Reddit, and I joined the
Yeah.
Discord, and we continued developing it, and now we're at this point where this is the first episode. Enigma, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Uh, let's see. First of all, I didn't come up with the idea. Okay, I found it somewhere on Reddit, but everyone ignored it, and I thought the idea was good. I didn't want it to go to waste. So, and I'm a very persistent person. If people didn't see it the first time, I would post it again somewhere else. Um, I'm glad Hans joined. Hans is being very useful. No offense to anyone else, everyone is being useful.
Not everyone
Um,
is useless.
useful, useful.
Yes, continue on.
Um, but yeah, I want to thank Hans. He was the first person to join, and he has been the person that has been helping the most here. He's even taken charge sometimes because I am way too much of an idiot to actually take charge of this server and of this podcast really. So yeah, claps to Hans or whatever the fuck you want to do.
All right.
Okay, hang on. Before we introduce Sin,
Well, I'm Sinnabon. Oh, you can call me Riley. Uh, I've been into ARGs for a while, but I've never had the energy to like actually try and solve any. Um, I'm kind of like Brick. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on them, and then I was scrolling through Reddit and I saw the post about starting the podcast, and I just hopped in and we started doing some investigations within the server, and it just made me start caring more about it and actually have interest. So I'm not really good at solving puzzles, but it's really fun figuring out each clue and getting to the next part and just developing more of like an understanding of what the plot of whatever the ARG we're looking at is. So that's really it.
All right.
all right. I'd also like to mention, because I forgot to whenever I was, that the ARG community is actually like probably one of the best communities out
It's
there.
really cool.
Yeah, I would like to build upon that and say that. So the ARG that I helped work on, Ascension, uh, we grew a community of about 100 plus members, and even when the actual ARG shut down, we were able to just create a separate Discord server so everyone could just hang out, and that was honestly really cool. And we all got to know each other, talk about real life stuff. Actually, not saying that real
I would
life
like to
is
point out that it was because of me. The fact that we like shit that like stuff that we've talked about.
oh
Oh,
oh yeah
I was
yeah.
also the first one to initiate a voice chat in this.
Mm.
So the community is really great. There, as with any community, there's still toxic people, but a lot of the people do like to work with each other and just talk and hang out, and so that's a nice part. Speaking of the community, so we have the Discord server set up for this podcast, and you will find a link to the Discord server anywhere this podcast will be uploaded on, and you will be able to join in, interact with us, even help out with the podcast if you'd like. And some notable mentions for people on the Discord server, besides us four already, we have,
Um, One that I would like to shout out is Yuria.
yeah.
Um, she's been doing some
yes,
really good artwork for us. Her along with what's his name? Mist. He
yes, Mist.
he's the one that's I'm pretty sure he's done most of the artwork for this channel so far.
Yeah, so
Um,
the banners on YouTube and SoundCloud, that is his artwork, and it is pretty great. On Twitter, you will see that it is a different one, which is made by oh, I wish I had
Groovy?
credits set up. Groovy, yeah,
Yeah.
Groovy. The profile icon was also made by Groovy, and it is pretty great. Who else?
I think that's the only two
The
artists for that. But
Yeah, that's Jason. Jason's been a really big help with some of the ARGs that we've been working on.
yeah.
yeah, Jason. 8-bit. He actually helped create a general layout for us to follow during this first episode, and uh, thanks to him for that. Besides that, I would like to thank the entire Discord for just being there and
Yeah, everyone
being
has been
pretty awesome.
supportive. Everyone
Uh,
has been great.
Yeah, just the community in general. If you'd like to introduce what an ARG is, Hans.
all right. What is an ARG? So, firstly, ARG stands for Alternate Reality Game. Alternate reality games are essentially games that take place in a
Go ahead.
fictional world, but intertwine with reality in our real world. Oftentimes, they will require players to interact with different social medias or investigate or research topics that are highly.
You do know that alternate reality game is defined on the Wikipedia. You know that, right?
Okay, it is defined on Wikipedia. So, alternate reality game, as on Wikipedia, is an interactive networked narrative that uses the real world as a platform and employs transmedia storytelling to deliver a story that may be altered by players' ideas or action.
Way too confusing for me.
Okay, to shorten
I get
that,
it. I get it. Don't explain it.
well, maybe our viewers don't understand it.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, this is an introduction episode. It's not like we're doing anything crazy today.
Correct. Correct. Let's see. The term ARG is very loosely defined, as you could interpret it as just a series of puzzles or storytelling through, as I said before, different mediums, social media or videos or any other form you could get communication,
Yeah,
essentially.
a lot of ARGs, from what I've seen, a lot of them come from like Reddit or like a lot of them will do Twitter. A few do Tumblr. I don't know how many
Most
Tumblr
social
ones there
media.
are. Yeah, most social media. But
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
alternate reality games, they're another form of storytelling for creators to provide an entertainment to its players. The players are directly, most of the time, directly involved with the ARG, and so
although there are where they're not.
yes, there are cases where they are not, but it is another form of entertainment. It is always fictional, so even though it may seem like it is real, that it is from real life, or that even though it just seems real, it's not, because ARGs are meant to be fictional, and sometimes they may mess with your mind or bend reality to make you think that it's real, but they are not. Oftentimes, it can be confused with actual mysteries out there where one might confuse a murder for part of a storyline when it's actually a real murder. And that is one of the gray areas of ARGs, where if you put in that there is a murder, then you need to make sure your audience knows that it is still fictional. We have some examples of that in another conversation that we'll bring up in another conversation. I hope that properly introduces what an ARG is.
I mean, I think you did pretty well.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought everything was real. So next, we already brought up like what platforms are used, which is pretty much any social media.
Any social media out there, essentially. They could also be put out on websites that are created by the game makers themselves. Game makers are what we call the creators of the ARGs. Whether the audience knows who they are or do not know who they are is up to that game maker. So game makers can create websites dedicated to the ARG, and that's how they interact with their audience. Or they could create real life ways to communicate with players. For example, if there is an ARG that is focused in a certain city and the players are meant to be in that city, then they could post documents or updates on a billboard or something, and that's just one way of interacting with the players.
Right, and most of the time, most ARGs, you're encouraged to like work with others, so it's not like you're just working by yourself. There are a few, or not a few, but there's probably a good bit where they ask you to work on it yourself, but most of those aren't really ARGs. Those are more, yeah, it's more of a community type thing. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Hans.
so usually players are encouraged to work with each other because ARGs, a lot of them of how they work is that players are trying to decipher the actual storyline. They are trying to figure out what's going on or
Why something's
uh,
happening.
why something is happening. So let's move on to the what types of ARGs there are, and I
Yeah.
think this would help cover all the different kinds. Enigma, do you want to
No,
talk about this?
I don't at all. I can, but I don't. Okay. Um.
Okay.
Um. I'll pass it to Brick for a bit. I need to think about my words.
Sin, do you want to?
Yes, Sin.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
If not, it's fine. I can do it. But
So there's a couple ARGs that are primarily based on stories, such as The Sun Has Vanished on Twitter.
Yeah. So let's talk about The Sun Vanished. It is a Twitter ARG that
Actually, an easy one to cover in the second episode.
what?
It's an easy one to cover in the second episode since it's just mostly tweets. It's
We're
just mostly storytelling.
We're explaining types, not
I know, I
we're
understand.
explaining the
I'm just
types.
saying. No, I know. I'm not that dumb. I am listening. I am sleepy, but I am listening.
Okay, The Sun Vanished. It is a story-based ARG that takes place on Twitter. It really exploded the ARG environment because it started to become told on YouTube creators' videos. It
It caught a lot of attention.
yeah, it caught a lot of attention, and so The Sun Vanished. The creator posted his storyline onto Twitter, and Twitter users could interact with this account to help further what is happening, trying to figure out how the sun vanished, stuff like that. And sometimes the story might not go how even the creator originally thought it should go, and that's all just based on circumstance. So, Hi Mary Mary is another example of a story-based ARG, and this took place on both YouTube and Twitter. We will be discussing all of these ARGs in future episodes, but essentially, YouTube, in addition to Twitter, is how the creators could display their story.
I mean, when it's multi-platform, it allows users to get
more
more
out
into
of
the
it.
story connected to it, because there's more of it being displayed than just like on one form of social media.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move back into the ARGs and types of ARGs.
Right.
So
We left off with story, so next is
stories.
puzzle.
Puzzle based.
The ones I
This is
hate the most.
quite a big one, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, okay.
I'm
Does
pretty sure.
anyone want to talk about this, or
Uh,
should I?
I can explain it up to probably up to about where we get to cicada.
Okay,
So
yeah,
so like, I can kind of explain what happens and how they're done. Um,
go for it.
all right. So we talked about story-based ARGs. Now we have puzzle-based, which I mean, as you can guess by the name of it, it's a puzzle, and you have to find out. Uh, you have to figure out certain elements of the story um in order for you to progress. Like, and some puzzle based also meet with story based. Like there's one, I think I mentioned it earlier whenever I was introducing myself, Inmate 404. That one is a story based mixed with puzzle. Um, but puzzle based are mainly, sorry, puzzle based mainly you just figure out one step, and once the creator of the ARG knows that you figured out a step, you they'll like move on to the next part. And puzzle based are mostly tied in with like Twitter, like it's mostly tied in with social media, like Twitter, 4chan, uh, Facebook, whatever else. Um, One of the
Yeah,
largest puzzle-based ARGs is Cicada 3301. Um,
actually, it can be considered the most popular ARG, and
right.
this is even a questionable one because it is not even confirmed to be an ARG.
Yeah,
It no one has actually taken credit for creating it, so we still do not know a lot about Cicada 3301, and
it's made by Cicada
we might not
3301.
even. Yeah, it's the name given to the people who created it, who no one knows.
Right.
Uh, but
And
Cicada 3301. Sorry, what?
it's mostly like we were talking earlier about there being real life elements uh
Yeah.
to ARGs. Puzzle based is probably the most that you'd see in implementation of the real world.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Um, so Cicada 3301. It we a lot of, or all of what we know about it is that it was actually a tool for the organization to recruit uh, code breakers or uh, people who are just generally crazy smart at cryptography or data security, and they put out a certain number of puzzles in sequence onto the internet. First posted on Twitter, I believe, and
4chan.
4chan, and then Twitter afterwards. Essentially, these were actually generally puzzles that were put out onto the internet for whoever to solve.
Right. And like just for like like a little bit of not really backstory, but like a little bit of like so you can know how long these can last. Cicada lasted years. Like if I remember right, people only got like one step a year.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, um, yeah. Each puzzle was actually posted a year. It started in 2012, and then the second puzzle was released in 2013 at the beginning of the year, and the third puzzle was posted in 2014. Uh, After that, no other puzzles were actually posted, but
Yeah,
people
so
are still on the lookout for them.
yeah, so for what we know it's over. Cause if I remember right, the last thing that happened with it was the people who finished the third puzzle first got an email from Cicada saying like, "Hey, if you'd like to work with us, then do something." I don't remember what it was.
Right. Yeah, so it is a yeah, it just describes the dynamic ability for ARGs,
Right.
how extensive they can be is what I'm
Right.
trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, and we're not
They
gonna
get
get too far into Cicada this episode because
right.
that'll be
Yeah,
covered in
that's
the
like an
next.
episode to itself.
Yeah, yeah, that'll probably be an episode to itself.
Uh, all right, let's move on
And
to the next type,
yeah,
which is marketing ARGs.
Center Enigma.
ARGs to promote products. That's that. This one is very basic. Basic.
Yeah,
They are ARGs made to promote movies or products or shit like that. Like the I Love Bees Halo 2 ARG, the Cloverfield ARG, shit like that. Just made to promote movies and shows and shit
yeah.
and games.
Oh,
That
really?
one's very basic. Thank you for giving me that one. That one is actually very very easy.
Well, like Gravity Falls, like really got people into it because like
I didn't
the
even know there
first,
was a Gravity Falls ARG.
Yeah, I didn't either.
yeah, like throughout the show there would be like flashing images, or like at the end of it would be like a puzzle.
Yeah, I always noticed that, but I
Yeah,
never thought
and
about it.
they were able to be solved with like Caesar ciphers and stuff, and that was just made to promote the show because the show by itself was already like pretty creepy. It was like a mystery, and then adding in the ARG aspect to it just made people even more curious about it. So it made them really
Yeah,
involved.
yeah. Gravity Falls was definitely a really a big one, and one that I enjoyed looking
Yeah.
in from the outside, because I was still very new to ARGs at the time. Uh, but it was really fun to watch it unfold, and how the creator, what's his name?
Oh shoot, it's like on the tip of my tongue.
I'm not
Uh,
sure. I just remember that he's friends with Justin Roiland.
Alex Hirsch.
Yeah.
Alex
Yeah,
Hirsch, who created Gravity Falls as well. He essentially designed the whole thing for was it for the finale?
I believe
Probably.
so.
Yeah, he was wondering how he could get off with a bang for the show, and
Yeah.
there's two ARGs on here that I don't quite or haven't heard of, but there is the Stranger Things ARG
Oh
currently
yeah.
going, and it actually just started last week in the United States,
Yeah.
and this is as another form of the marketing ARG, where actually I don't know if it is officially associated with the official show, but they were able
I
to
mean, it has to be, right? Because during the first step, you have to call Baskin Robbins, like a
but
special
they might
number
have
for
just
Baskin Robbins.
yeah, they aired an ad which had
Oh
the
yeah.
phone number, but I'm pretty sure it was just only for that one Baskin Robbins, and they have told people not to actually go to these locations, or
Yeah.
uh, yeah, go to any of the locations that they've used for the ARG. They've told people specifically not to go there and harass people there or anything like that, and
Yeah. But I mean, that should be a given, to be honest.
yeah. So that's actually a current one if anyone wants to look into any active ARGs.
Yeah, definitely.
And the community there is really big.
Yeah. And obviously, with as many ARGs as there are, because there's a lot. There's a lot of them that repeat themselves. Um, whether people mean to or not, like it'll get to the point where they use certain stuff so much that it gets boring. But that's like with anything, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
and
the cliches.
yeah, we have this labeled as
So,
cliches of ARG.
a lot of times it is from ARG creators who want to get into the scene and they're just starting out, and that's perfectly respectable for them to do. But here's just some tips from me. Make sure it's unique and it's something that stands out. That probably seems obvious, but
I
a lot
mean,
of times it could just get lost in the pool of new ARGs out there, and when it all seems the same, it's mysterious or it's cryptic, or it just seems like another ARG. It
right,
will be hard to
and it's not
pull
like you.
people in.
Yeah, sorry. It's not like you have to be original. It's just make sure you don't do something that's like super overdone. Like for example, like certain languages or like certain cryptic languages are used so much that it just makes the ARG stale. Um, example of those are like binary and base 64. Also, what's another one that's used a lot? Caesar.
Yeah.
Morris and Caesar,
Yeah,
yeah.
more. I haven't really been a part of many that use Morris, but yeah, Caesar is
Oh,
used a
really?
lot. Yeah, I think the only
Yeah.
one that I did that had Morris was that test that we did the other night.
Did that even have
The codal.
Morse
Yeah.
code?
Yeah, in the first step, wasn't it?
That was binary.
No, that was binary.
It was binary.
There was one of them that I did that had Morris. I don't remember what it was.
There was a
I don't believe
Twitter
it did, but
username I found.
okay.
But
Yeah, we
It's
have a tacky one of our Discord members said that Visioneer is also used a lot,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's true. So I guess this is
and that
a
leads
perfect way to lead into encryption languages.
Yeah, leads perfectly into it.
So we've already mentioned binary. That's the ones and zeros. Morse
Dots
Lines
is
dashes.
and dots.
similar, where you have
I mean,
yeah,
everyone
two
pretty much.
forms.
If you've watched a war movie, you most likely know what Morse code is.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Correct.
that's just putting it
The very
simply.
original, or the roots of Morse code was that people would turn on and off their large lights, either like beam lights or lights from a lighthouse, and that would be able to help communicate with other people from long distances
Right, and then later on it would be used by a Morse code like machine,
through
if I remember
yeah,
right.
through an
I don't
electric line.
I don't know what it was actually called, but I
Yeah,
just called it a Morse code machine. 'Cause
sure. uh, yeah, base 64. So let me double check base 64 before I say anything.
most of the time when you'll know that this is used whenever, or it's really any of the bases if it has two equal signs at the end.
Base 64 is a group of binary detect. Okay.
right. Yeah. Well, I'll probably discuss this more in the future, but it's a form of encryption or encoding that uses what's given, what's inputted, and translates it into a radix 64 representation. That's a whole other terminology that we'll discuss later.
Ooh, on this little roadmap thing that he made, he should have put like examples, and we could have
All
like put them up
right,
on the screen.
all right, guy, you're expecting too much out of unpaid workers here.
Hey, I was just saying. I wasn't saying that
uh,
I expected it from him, but it's just a thought that came to my head.
it's a good note for the future. All right. So other forms of encryption, we have hexadecimal. It's just hex.
I love those ones.
Hex is used a lot in actually just coding and storing data types, or it is the form of coding for a lot of files, just for data or accessing, or yeah, it's data. Like video game cartridges on the Game Boy, DS, I think even the Wii still, or correct me if I'm wrong, somebody.
I'm not sure.
Uh, they are all encoded in hex, or that is
Probably.
the readable way for us to understand what's going on, and it's through hex.
Right. And just for clarification, like the first three that we talked about, those were common. Now we're moving on to uncommon.
Yeah. Uh,
Like
all right. Rot.
these are used, but not very commonly.
So the next one we have on our list is ROT 13. ROT 13, it's short for rotate by 13 places, or rotate 13. And it's basically what it means.
It's a Caesar
You take
cipher.
the letter. Well, yeah, it's a Caesar cipher. You take the letter, move 13 letters over, and it's your encoded letter. It's half of the alphabet, and that's why it'll be more commonly used. Octal. So octal, hexadecimal, uh, decimal. These are all aces, and it's just ways for computers to understand them. But we've used them for puzzles because, yeah, it's just another form of an encoding language that has users try to solve them. Octal is just put into base 8, and
Well,
similarly with hex.
that's what octal is, right? It's just
Yeah,
base
yeah,
8.
it's base 8. Hex is base 16. It's 1 through 9, A through F.
Right.
Uh, yeah. And then we have ASCII. Actually, ASCII is a unique one because it is play it is put out right in front of you, even though even though it is put out right in front of you, say in a text document,
Just
an
another form
encoded
of
language.
another form of encryption. Encryption. Next, we have custom ciphers.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean, I don't know any.
Okay. So custom ciphers. I actually designed a cipher for Ascension ARG. It was one of the last ones that you had to do, and this cipher was actually, it's not a cipher, it's a process of getting to the answer. And what I had people do was there were 99 text documents and or 100 text documents, and I was cruel for doing that, but it was so fun. 100 text documents, each with 100 lines, and those 100 lines were either real or fake. And you could tell because the real ones had binary, fake ones had just random letters. Those real ones, if you put them in order by date, it forms a 63 by 63 grid, and it's a 63 by 63 grid of ones and zeros. Those ones and zeros could be converted into black and white spaces, and we use that to give the players a QR code, and that QR code led to other things. But that's one way I was able to come up with a
Intense.
yeah, it was one of the puzzles that we had the players do, and they eventually got it. Actually, one of the players, Nev, he was able to use Python to scan through all of the text files, extract the ones and zeros and the dates, and then put them into the proper order. And as much as I hate that he did that because it just simplified the whole thing, he did it, and it was really cool because you can use technology to solve technology, and that's just one of the ways you could solve puzzles.
Right, and finally we have actual languages.
Yeah.
Most of the time that actual languages are used, they're normally hidden by other encryption languages. And
Right.
something about that is you don't have to only use one encryption language. Sometimes people will use, most of the time, actual languages will be masked by, like, for example, decimal base 64, binary Morse, ASCII, Caesar, stuff like that. Because I mean, if you put an actual language, it'd be too easy to just copy, put it and translate blah blah blah
Yeah.
to English. And a lot of times ciphers will use, or like a certain cipher will be used more than once. So like for example, you'd have to put in something into Caesar, and then you don't get anything, or no, what's it called? The V one?
Oh,
Visioneer.
Visioneer.
yeah, that.
Yeah. A lot of, or one that I did, you had to put in a thing to Visioneer, and then you put it into Visioneer again, and you got the answer.
Right. A double. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Creating an ARG.
We're
Well,
back.
can I ask, Enigma, have you worked on anything or?
I have tried, but never really worked out anything specific.
Okay. Actually,
Just pet projects.
anyone in the audience, if you have tried to create an ARG or anything, please chime in. Because I
Yeah,
don't want to feel alone here by just talking.
I think the people with the most experience in creating ARGs or ARGs should talk.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, for sure.
at the moment, Brick and I are beginning to create one,
Uh-huh.
but we haven't gotten very far in it yet.
Okay. Well, perhaps I could give some tips then. So let's follow this mind map because it is very useful. Creating an ARG, the process. So how does the process work? It starts with an idea. This idea, oftentimes you just want to write out the storyline, how you generally want it to go. You want to have a beginning and ending. The middle you can write up as it goes or have it already set, but oftentimes creators just jump in and release the first step without having an end, and that's one of the biggest issues. It just kind of dies off because the creator couldn't come up with something. Once you have a story written, it's easy for you now, because all you got to do is figure out, hey, how do I want the story to be given to the users, to the players? And this is where the puzzles come in. You can use puzzles to lay out the storyline. Either they uncover a part of the story, or you can have the puzzles reveal an important bit of information. Oftentimes, the story might come along with the puzzles themselves. Like, you describe a major plot line, but there's a puzzle in it to have the users figure out the details of the plot line.
Yeah, it just kind of it's more focused on if like you're doing a story, that's when you have to worry about more of a beginning or an end. If you're just doing a puzzle based, like it's
That's
just
true.
puzzle to puzzle.
That's true.
But story based ones have like a lot more planning that have to go into them.
I'm gonna bring in an example for that. For the puzzle based one, we just started the Quetzalcoatl 2100 challenge, and I feel a little hesitant to say it's an ARG, because I know it's an actual competition for puzzle challenges, but it's it's a puzzle based thing where the creator put out a set of puzzles for people to figure out, and currently it had 10 steps, and whoever finishes those 10 steps could move on to the next stage. And so that's another way you could just do it. You just create puzzles, but you need to have a good reason for why you have that puzzle. And this guy, apparently he had it hosted at his university for the last 2 years, and this time he just wanted to bring it to the internet. So on this mind map, we have pros and cons. Pros, yeah, it is a really good starter. You could definitely create one if you just have an idea. That's all you need. The cons is the extremely difficult finale. To have a good finale is probably one of the most difficult parts. With the Ascension ARG that I had, a lot of the users were left confused and unsure of whether it is actually finished or not. And me personally, I also don't know if it's finished or not. um, and that's only because the other person that I worked with, or the two other people that I worked with, had conflicting ideas. There was drama that was involved, and that does come with an ARG sometimes, and oftentimes that's because as a story develops, ideas change, and it can be difficult to finish off an ARG from the creator side. Do you guys have any input on that?
No,
Nope.
I'd agree.
Nope.
I just started, so I don't know much about making them.
Okay.
It can be very hard to
All right. Issues. So, all right. Lack of resources. Yeah, that is a good point. Even though if you just have an idea, a lack of resources can prohibit or hinder your creative process.
Not just resources, but also like knowledge.
Yeah. But I want to tell any ARG creators out there that there is a lot of tools out there on the internet that could help you create your ARG. The I feel bad for just constantly promoting the Ascension ARG, but the other creator for the Ascension was able to find a website, was website maker that I hadn't heard of, that wasn't Weebly or Wikia, that helped him make the website, and I thought that was really cool. And it was free, no ads, which is a good plus, and that was one of the things. Uh, Sometimes you might not have access to a camera, so say you want to make a YouTube ARG. Uh, what I want to say to that is that a lot of people, we have the power to create videos from our phones, and that's probably all you need. You just grab your phone, start recording, and uh, you can move on from there. The lack of resources definitely is there for a lot of people, but to that, I want to say that you can use resources that you could use as well to help you out. One example for the lack of resources, though, is I feel like it is the sun vanished. He started running out of funds to, or the yeah, he needed more funds to help progress onto the storyline, but he just didn't have enough. And with college, he couldn't focus on both at the same time.
Mhm.
Marketing is another one of the issues. Yeah, for me, I already have some marketing skills that I could use by just putting it on social media, telling people about it. Uh, and the easiest way for a lot of people is just to post it onto r/ARG. And that's often all that you need. You just put it onto the subreddit and hope that people join. Perhaps include some good storyline on why it's being posted on r/ARG. If you want to reveal that you are the creator, then you say that. Or if you want to hide it, make sure you hide it well, and make sure you have a good excuse for saying why you have this seemingly tough ARG that you found and why no one has ever heard of it. Something like that. Uh, Marketing, a lot of times you don't have enough money to help create it. And so that is something that a lot of, even in startups for companies, you might not have enough money to do what you want to do. And so for that, if your ARG develops and good ideas, or if your ARG develops and it becomes really good along the way, you could, for example, start a Patreon or do, I don't know, GoFundMe, and that oftentimes helps fund your project, your ARG. Another issue is interest. For the Ascension ARG, a lot of people did lose interest in it because uh, either we just weren't keeping their interests there, or there was too much time in between the tasks. So that is one thing with content creation. You want to keep your audience's interests at bay. Uh, you want to keep them there. So for tips with that, I want to say interact with your users. Create a character. And this could even be with puzzle-based ARGs, marketing, story-based, all of that. Just create a character and have that creator or character interact with your users. Keep them involved. Make sure you have a character sheet for this so you can follow a general guideline of personality, the storyline, stuff like that. Just interact with your users. Make sure you keep them in touch. Maybe have a sense of mysteriousness to keep them curious for the next task or the next plotline. And
Also,
yeah,
another issue is difficulty. I definitely wanted to bring this one up because we started the first ARG that we started on this server called Evaluation for You, right?
correct.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The so we got through most of it, or not most of it, but we got through the first couple parts, and like within like a few hours, and next thing we knew, we were just lost, and we couldn't get anywhere with it because we were trying to just figure out this password, and there was nothing telling us what the password could be. I mean, there was a riddle, but like nothing from that riddle showed like gave us anything at all. So make sure you don't make it too difficult. And if you do make it pretty difficult, make sure you have like Han said, make sure you have interaction.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah. To go back to that one custom cipher that I came up with, I put in a lot of clues to how to solve it within more text documents. Like I gave subtle hints that it was a 63 by 63 grid. Uh, I subtly put in that it was similarly solved to the Arecibo message, which is converting the grid into a picture, and this picture was a QR code. So make sure your puzzle is feasible to be solved, that it is possible and your users are able to solve it. If you just throw something at them without any hints or clues, then that'll drop their interest. It'll
And make sure that I can't remember what I was gonna say now.
yeah. If you want to introduce more difficult puzzles, then perhaps make it progressively grow harder. Uh, let it off easy at the beginning, and then as it goes on, the people who are more dedicated, you'll find out that those are the ones that are generally more apt at solving
Yeah.
these kinds of things, and then you can introduce more difficult puzzles.
Yeah, and I would recommend like if you're starting out, don't try and make a hard puzzle. Uh, you should if you're starting out, then like make something that a beginner could find, like could do pretty easily or easily enough. It doesn't have to be like super easy where anyone can do it, but like just kind of do an introduction for your first one. And then as you
Yeah.
start making more and more, make them progressively harder.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Anything else?
I
think
think that's it.
yeah, I think that's it. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you listening. This is available on YouTube and SoundCloud only at the moment, right?
Spotify, Google Play
Oh,
Music, actually, Apple Music. Uh, it isn't. I actually still gotta work on this Spotify thing.
okay.
Uh,
So, but we do have Apple and Google Music, Google Play Music.
yes, Google Play
Okay,
Music.
so
Yeah.
yeah, if you're listening on YouTube, Google Play, uh, Apple, or SoundCloud, we appreciate it a lot. And
If
yeah,
you could give us a like,
yeah,
upvote, thumbs up, whatever the uh, comment system is on, interact with us. Feel free to join our Discord. We love having new people, and don't forget, you're breathtaking.